There are only so many more excuses you can come up with for this 2024 Rangers team, but I think it's done. I think there are no more excuses. I think this team just flat out stinks.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the World Series champion Texas Rangers. I'm Bryce Paddock, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan covering this team for 11 seasons, including all 6 as the founder and host of this podcast. Thank you all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Paddock. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Hit subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and on YouTube, where the best way to get help for the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Now, before we get into the Rangers' absolute annihilation at the hands of the Mets and why this team is just flat out freaking cooked this year, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Now, I am recording this in the top of the 7th inning because the Texas Rangers game has been done for about 5 innings at this point. The Rangers got absolutely waxed, blown out, blown up, annihilated, butt kicked, gobsmacked, dumbfounded, embarrassed by the New York freaking Mets in this series opener. And while the Rangers might still salvage this series and may even make something of this season, it's physically possible. Mentally, I can't quite picture it. Emotionally, I can't quite reckon with it. Physically, I can't feel it in my bones that this team is anything but mid to bad this year. And even though I'm not usually the boy who cried the season's over, I feel like at this point it's at least deserving of the rant of an equivalent of one. This team just sucks this year. There's no more excuses. There's no more, if this, if that, if. There's a bunch of ifs, and if ifs and buts were candies and nuts, then I forget how the rest of the saying goes. But it doesn't matter, because this team just sucks. I'm sick of making excuses for the squad of why they can't hit, why they can't pitch, why certain guys can pitch, but then they can't pitch, but then certain guys can't hit, but then they can't hit. It just sucks. And it's time to reckon with that and grapple with that. And I think Bruce Bochy and the rest of this Ranger squad know that they just suck right now. There's no excuse. There is no reason. There is no logic. It is just a World Series hangover. Can you die by a hangover? I don't know if you can. I know you can die by alcohol poisoning. I don't know if you can die from a hangover. I know that I personally have had some hangovers that felt like they were going to murder me. But it feels like this hangover is absolutely murdered. This World Series hangover has absolutely murdered the 2024 Texas Rangers. I mean, the second anything starts to feel like it's going right, I mean, anything this season, something comes in and craps on their parade. It's just been awful to watch. Miserable. Just flat out disgusting to watch. And I don't say that lightly. It has been so incredibly maddening. Not that this team isn't just running away with the division, which I think if they were having at least an average offensive year, average on what my expectations, what most people's expectations, what their own expectations were for this offense to do, given what most of the pitching staff has done most of this year, they would be right there neck and neck with Seattle, if not 3 to 4 to 5 games ahead of them. They should be. But just some kind of disgusting voodoo magic hoo-hoo nonsense spell has been cast upon this entire offense. It's not just everybody but Simeon and Seager right now. It's everybody included, including Josh Smith. Joshua H. Pookie Smith, who was the one unexpected bright spot in this offense this year, who has just been out for the better part of, a week and a half with what I believe has been called general soreness. Why is he not on the IL? Why is there not another person being called up? I'll tell you why. Because there's no one else. Having a hurt Josh Smith on the bench is more valuable than whatever the Rangers are going to call up to replace him with. Because there's no help coming. There's no reinforcements. There's no trades that are going to be made to fix this offense. This is the offense. And until they just remember how to hit good, or hit okay, or just not hit badly, this offense and this team is going to stink it up. And I'm honestly so sick of trying to defend it, and I'm done. I'm not defending it. I'm not going to call for Donnie Ecker and Tim Hires to be fired. I think that's dramatic. I'm not going to call for the Rangers to just completely redevelop their hitting strategy because I think that's a little dramatic. But I think for this year, it's just safe to assume that this offense is freaking cooked. And I've talked about it many times on this show before, but if this offense is cooked and if all of these players, sans Marcus Semien, Corey Seager, and Joshua H. Pookie Smith, are just not good hitters, which I don't think is the case. But if they're not, if this is just who they are, then the Rangers are just going to turn into the 2015 Royals if they don't make some drastic overhauls. They'll look back and look at that 2023 Rangers squad and say, wow, what an incredibly lucky group of untalented people that all happen to have the best years of their lives at the exact same time. I hope that's not how we look back at the 2023 Rangers. But with how 2024 has been, it's starting to look that way. I mean, the guys who went on absolute heaters, Jordan Montgomery, for one. I think Monty is a better pitcher that he's pitched this year. But still, it's entirely possible to look back and say, wow, Jordan Montgomery really played over his skis in that 2023 postseason. Wow, Josh Sborz, Jose Leclerc, they really played out of their minds. Wow, that Evan Carter kid, whatever happened to him? He was amazing in that postseason. Where'd he go? What happened to him? It's a possible outcome. I hope it's not the outcome, but right now, it's hard not to spiral into an absolute depression sports hole. Especially if you're an all DFW sports fan and watching the Rangers just absolutely stink it up. Watching the Mavs come out there and blow out the Celtics in game 4 and force a game 5 and then poop the bed almost as badly as this Rangers offense has pooped the bed all year long in their game 5 to lose a championship. I mean, it's just absolutely miserable in Sportstown DFW right now. It's awful. And I thought the Rangers would be the ones that would be picking this city up. I mean, that World Series run really carried us quite a bit and brought some supreme sports joy that we haven't felt in a long, long time here in Dallas. And I thought they might follow it up by not stinking it up this year. That's really all I was particularly asking for. Wasn't even asking for a guaranteed playoff spot back-to-back years. Just don't embarrass me like that one Sabrina Carpenter song says that I can't quote because this is a family show. But you know the one I'm talking about. Or if you don't, then that's fine. This reference can just go over your head. But please don't embarrass me, Rangers. Oh, sorry. It's too late for that. They have already deeply embarrassed us. And I don't know what it is with Bruce Bochy's squads. I'm just going to start throwing darts at just everyone in this organization. You know, Chris Young should have done more to help improve this offense. Well, we should have seen more out of Bruce Bochy, more throwing chairs and yelling and creating a fuss. Well, him calling a team meeting in, what was it, May? That's about as expressive of Bruce Bochy, you know, throwing chairs and throwing a hissy fit and, you know, rallying his guys as he can do. I would just like to see something from this Rangers offense that would make me think, actually everything in most of these guys' careers leading up to this wasn't just a fluke. They're actually good players in a collective, unbelievable funk offensively. I would like to be proven wrong. But right now, after a game like this, following a weekend like that in Seattle. I mean, the Rangers were coming off winning 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers in a just super weird series. You thought, okay, maybe every time the Rangers did a good little thing the last month and a half, it's been like, oh, maybe this is the thing that gets the Rangers going. Oh, maybe this is their moment that they turn things around. Maybe this is the one. Maybe this. No, I don't think it is. I would be happy to be proven wrong. This feels almost identical to that final regular season series against the Astros in September, where the Rangers just got their teeth kicked in and their tails cut off and their heads bashed in at home to the Houston Astros. And I thought, okay, well, that was a fun run. Let's run it back and see where we are again next year. And then they figured things out and snuck into the playoffs and went on the run of a lifetime. I don't know if they're doing that 2 years in a row. I sure would like them to. It sure would be nice. But given how abysmal the season has been so far, it's really starting to be time to think seriously about when does this team cut bait and punt for 2025. Talk about a little bit more reinforcements maybe coming along the way and why this Jon Gray start is just so incredibly demoralizing. Right after this word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is the best way to buy all the tickets you want for all the, well, maybe not sports right now. Maybe you're looking at something other than sports. Maybe you want to go to a comedy show and laugh and feel joy because your Texas Rangers aren't bringing you that joy. Well, Game Time is the best place to get tickets for that. If you want to go to a music concert, if you wanted to go to a theater, all kinds of different live events, and even if you do want to go to a sports game, you're going to go check out a Rough Raiders game because you know what? The Rangers are a little depressing right now. Or you're thinking, hey, I can get some great prices on Rangers tickets because they're not very good right now. And Game Time is the best way to get tickets for all those live events. They got the Game Time guarantee. It is the lowest price guarantee from Game Time. They will credit you 110% the difference if you find the lower prices somewhere else. Game Time has also got ticket coverage, so your purchase is covered for the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. They've also got flash deals you can save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or event. So download the Game Time app today, create an account and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. This episode is brought to you by Supply House. Get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades, supplyhouse.com. Supplyhouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at supplyhouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere in just a few clicks at supplyhouse.com. Now, before Jon Gray went on the IL with that issue in his leg, he was one of the best pitchers on this Ranger team. No, he was the best pitcher on this Ranger team. He was one of the better pitchers in the American League before he went on the IL. But since he's come back, he just has not looked quite right. Not quite right. Not awful by any means. He was really solid in 2 1/3 innings in relief against San Francisco, his first game back off the IL. Against the Dodgers, I kind of wish that he would have been a little bit more economical with his pitch count, gone a little bit deeper into the game, but still 3 innings of 1-run ball against the Dodgers when you strike out 3. That's solid. The only run he allowed was a Shohei Ohtani home run, which again happens to quite literally everyone. But in this game, getting just absolutely hammered by the Mets, it makes me worry about John Gray. It makes me worry that he is not 100% himself, or maybe this is just a very off day, because John Gray just straight up did not have it in this one. Not only could he not give the Rangers length and just suffer through and just mop up some innings, he only got through 3. He couldn't even keep them relatively close in this one, giving up 9 runs in 3 innings before the B side of this bullpen made it even worse. And Hernandez did not have a great outing in this one, allowing 3 runs, but at that point it was completely a moot point. It really did not matter at all. And whatever Cole Winn did in his outing, his couple innings of work, it absolutely did not matter, because this Rangers team, there's no way this Rangers offense is coming down from, heck, even down 5 runs is a completely insurmountable lead. But down 12, there's absolutely no hope for an offense that has been this abysmal. But the Rangers cannot afford for John Gray to have starts like this. They just can't. This offense gets buried, it gets defeated. It's already defeated entering the game no matter who's on the mound. That's how bad this offense has been so far. But you just can't put this team in this big of a hole. And, part of me, I don't even want to talk about the good news the Rangers got from the 2 former Mets aces that are trying to come back from injuries. I don't even want to sully that happy news in this just miserable show, because this is a miserable. We're just leaning into it in this game. This feels like a game that warrants a reaction like this, a losing streak that warrants a reaction like this, a season so far that warrants a little bit of what might be an overreaction. But John Gray having an awful start like this when the Rangers are in the midst of a skid like this, I mean, it's incredibly frustrating, because I have been such a staunch John Gray defender for years now. I've always believed that there is something more to John Gray than what he has been in his career. I always believe there's just that little bit more. You'd see flashes of brilliance from John Gray in his Rangers tenure. You'd see a couple of months stretch where he just looks absolutely amazing, unhittable, unbelievable, and then he falls way back down to earth for the other 4 months out of the season. And, starting off this year so hot, so good, at such a crucial time for the Rangers, I thought, well, maybe this is the year where he gets, maybe 3 good months as opposed to just 2. Or maybe he even gets 4. Or maybe he stays consistent and is pretty darn good for the entirety of the season. Nope. I don't know that's going to be the case. And I think this start may have ended his hope for an all-star bid, because it is going to that drastically destroy how good his numbers have been so far. I mean, he was rocking a 2.2 ERA heading into this game, and now his ERA is over 3 1/3, basically. I mean, it was a 2.17 ERA heading into this game, and now it's at 3.31. That's how bad this one outing was for John Gray. And I hope he rebounds, and I hope he still makes the All-Star team. I still think he's deserving, even though this was an absolute stinker of a game. And the only other bad game he's really had was that first game of the season. And, all he did after that was look absolutely amazing. Hopefully this can be another one of those outings where he just bounces back, but I don't know. Maybe it's time to stop dreaming that the guy who is, 32 years old? 32 and a half years old almost, is anything more than he's been in his career. A guy that will give you mostly solid year with a couple outings every once in a while of absolute brilliance, but then a whole bunch of meh. I really thought he turned the corner this year with, throwing that slider as his primary pitch and using that fastball less, and the fastball getting lit up less. But in this one, he was going to the fastball as his primary pitch, and he couldn't get swings and misses with the slider, and he was having to rely on that fastball, and it was getting absolutely annihilated. And not just because it wasn't great, but because of the location, which was just awful. I mean, so many pitches just right down the heart of the zone, and I don't think the Mets are going to have the best offense in baseball this year, but I mean, they're big league hitters. you hang one up over the middle of the plate, fastball middle, there's not a whole lot of guys who are going to miss that consistently. And he was hitting that spot, middle. And by hitting, I mean missing his spots and missing middle consistently all night. And I don't care who you're facing. Even if you're facing, last year's A's team, even those guys are, every once in a while, are for the most part, going to light up pitches like that. Come up, talk about why this is just about time for the Rangers to start punting on the season. Who is going to get shipped off first at the trade deadline? Right after this word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. With PrizePicks, you can turn $10 into $1,000 in a single game watching your favorite sports this summer. You can make a PrizePicks lineup in as little as 60 seconds. You just need to pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you are locked in. I mean, honestly, just go look at the Rangers offense and pick less on most of those stats. And I feel like that might be a half-decent chance to win. But PrizePicks is the best way to get in on the action in more than 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, and Georgia as well. You can now win up to 100 times your money with baseball-only lineups on PrizePicks. If you submit a winning lineup featuring 4 Demon Squares, you'll cash in big time on the biggest moments of baseball's early season. PrizePicks is available, like I said, in more than 30 states across the country. They've even got injury insurance so that your lineups stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. For baseball games, if you've got a player who registers 2 plate appearances or less, PrizePicks will have your back and not count that as a loss. So download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks. Pick more. Pick less. It's that easy. Now, if the Rangers believe that they are actually out of it, and honestly, I think it'll take a little bit more convincing, a little bit more losing, a little bit more being out of the picture in the playoffs. I think if they're 10 games out when the calendar turns to July, I think that might be the time that this team finally says, okay, yeah, we're done. We're cooked. It was a nice run, a nice thought of back-to-back, but it is time to just go ahead and punt this 2024 team off the bridge. And if that happens to be the case, I think there are some obvious answers as to who gets traded away first. Now, teams are always looking for good relievers, and there have been very few relievers, if any, better than Kirby Yates this year. And as much as I love Kirby Yates and the Kirby Yates experience, and how awesome it was that the Rangers spent $4.5 million on a closer who was amazing. He's not was yet. He still is amazing, while the Astros spent $90 million on a closer who sucked. I thought that was hilarious, and I still will always think that's hilarious. But he's only on the contract for 1 year. And if the Rangers are not in the postseason, and they are not competitive, and they are not even close come trade deadline, or pick even right now, if you get yourself an offer that's absolutely blowing you away, that's crazy good, you really have to think about taking that offer. I mean, look at what early trades happened for a single-year rental reliever last year. One that was volatile, albeit with a history of being an elite closer with crazy good strikeout stuff. The Rangers gave up freaking Cole Reagans for Aroldis Chapman. And the reason that the Royals pounced on that and didn't wait to the deadline because they knew, oh, you see this guy who could be, a potential perennial Cy Young winner. And the Rangers can't quite fix him and can't quite make room for him right now. So we're going to take this offer because no one's going to get anywhere near that kind of price when we get to the deadline. And the Rangers got an extra month of him, and it helped stabilize their bullpen a little bit, and it was an overpay, and they won the World Series. And so if the Rangers want to look at punting early, I don't think they will, but if they want to, they should listen to some offers on Kirby Yates and David Robertson anyway. Robertson is one I'd be less likely to move, not because he's older or because I think he's better, because he's got a mutual option for 2025. When you decide to punt, it's a fire sale. Everything must go that isn't nailed down. And that includes Andrew Heaney, who is only under contract through the rest of this year. Michael Lorenzen, who's been really, really solid this year. If the Rangers decide to just punt on this season, he will be one that will be considered hearing trade options on, or trade offers on. And heck, even Max Scherzer. I'm sure the Rangers will listen to that. Now, granted, Max Scherzer has a no trade clause, but still, I think the Rangers will listen and try and talk to Scherzer and say, hey, if you worked your way back, this hard to finally get back, and you don't want to do it on a team that sucks, then and he's a free agent at the end of the year. He's going to be 40 next year. I don't know how many great seasons Scherzer has left. I think he's got quite a few because, that is a first ballot Hall of Famer. That is a bad mamma jamma. That is one of the best pitchers this game has ever seen. And I don't think he wants to spend any of his final years on a team that stinks. And that's what this team is right now. You look at some other options in the bullpen. I think Jose Urena would absolutely be one the Rangers would trade, no hesitation, if they are out of it, if they decide, yep, this is it. I think Jonathan Hernandez is a guy who they would definitely think about trading. He's got this year under contract at $1.245 million. He's ARB 3 eligible next year, so he does have one more year of club control. So that's something that I think the Rangers will consider. But the other guys in this pen, Josh Boris has got 2 more years of arbitration control after this. Brock Burke has got 2 more years of arbitration control after this. Jose Leclerc is another option there. Leclerc is a free agent at the end of this year. I'm sure they do have an emotional tie to him for helping them win a World Series, being absolutely crucial on that run. But again, Leclerc has looked much better since that rough first month of the season. I think there's definitely teams that would kick the tires on him. It's definitely an option. I don't think that it's one they're doing, and I think it would take a lot more than this, again, for the Rangers to actually go ahead and punt on the season. But it's something that they're definitely considering, I have to think. And if they're considering that, if you're considering punting on the season, I think the Rangers slow way down on the Jacob deGrom return timeline. And same with Tyler Mahle. If this team's out of it, and there is absolutely no reason to try and rush those guys back just to throw, 25, 30 innings? Well, for deGrom, it might be 25, 30 innings. It might be a little bit more for Mahle, who's projected to come back, probably the end of July. There's still no firm timetable on deGrom, who did throw for the first time off a mound since that elbow reconstruction surgery last year. But we're still quite a ways away from the actual Jacob deGrom return. And I don't think they would consider really anybody else in this rotation I don't think there's anybody else in this rotation they would consider parting ways with in terms of a trade. I don't think they're going to trade Nathan Eovaldi. I think they're going to try and have as much of this team that they can reload and come back for it next year and hope that the offense just whatever, witch casts a spell on them. Hopefully that witch loses her powers or stops holding a grudge for whatever ill the Rangers caused her, or Warlock, or whoever is cursing this Rangers offense. Hopefully the just collective fog lifts in 2025, and the Rangers can just do a little bit of their best, Giants impression from the Bochy years of just win every other year. Maybe that would be their case. Instead of doing even year nonsense, they do odd year nonsense because Bochy likes to switch it up. Maybe that's the move. But I think of the guys, if the Rangers are going to punt, starting to look at offers, starting to feel those offers, I'm sure there are offers already coming in, because this is around the time last year that the Rangers did make the move for Chapman. It's usually too early for anybody to make a move in terms of a big splashy trade, and the Rangers would have to absolutely be blown away to trade Kirby Yates at this time. I don't know that an offer like that is going to happen. So we are about a month and a half away from the trade deadline. It's the end of July. And so this would be the time where if someone wants to make some big ol' aggressive swing, this is when you would start to hear those offers. And I haven't even heard any kind of rumblings or rumors or much of anything happening this year. Maybe the Baltimore Orioles are a team that makes a move for Kirby Yates or David Robertson. Maybe it ends up being the Phillies, who haven't had the most reliable pen this year. I mean, they've had Jeff Hoffman and Matt Strom that have been pretty darn good this year, but the rest of their high-leverage relievers, including their closer, Jose Alvarado, Sir Anthony Dominguez, Gregory Soto, all those guys have been pretty unreliable. And Baltimore is making do. They've got a crap ton of prospects and a crap ton of hitting prospects, and if this Rangers offense isn't hitting like they hoped, then maybe you go call Baltimore and say, hey, Baltimore, you love having former Rangers. You love having so many former Rangers. And right now they're rocking with Craig Kimbrell as their closer, and he's been really solid this year. We've got Jacob Webb out there in the pen who's been really good. Yennier Cano has been really darn good. You can always use a little bit more help come the trade deadline, unless they're really, really believing in Dylan Tate, which maybe he has turned a corner, and if so, good for him. But I feel like a lot of these teams are always looking for bullpen help, and these contenders with these deep farm systems. Baltimore is a little bit deeper than the Phillies farm system. It's a little bit deeper than everybody in Major League Baseball, but I don't think it's time quite yet, but it's definitely getting there. And if the Rangers have another loss like this in this series, let alone this week, then out of sheer embarrassment, it might just be time to go ahead and punt in 2024. That's going to do it for today's show. Thank y'all so much for listening and subscribing, and until next time, don't forget to enjoy World Series champion Texas Rangers baseball.